Yes.
Disrespect.
Disrespect, okay.
Demonstrating that you have your own authority, I guess, acting out.
Good. How might students try to demonstrate or assert their authority if they feel it's not being met? How do they sometimes try to do that in the class?
Power struggles you were talking about.
That's right. Power struggles. Hey, I might not know this math, but you are not going to tell me to put that piece of paper away. And if you try to, I will show you who the boss is. You want to call me out in front of the class? You want to tell me quit talking to my neighbor? I'll show you. I'll show you who's in charge here. I'll make you look really stupid. So power struggles is the most frequent way that we'll see that manifest in the classroom. Power struggles. And I'm telling you, this is the biggest one for teachers if we can learn how to address this issue. Because it's not, like Reggie said, somebody had a question over here about that student that was, getting in her face and kind of bumping up against her and cussing at her. It's not letting students walk all over you. You set some boundaries with the kids. You set some serious boundaries with them and hold them accountable to it because that's what they really want, even though that's what they're rebelling against. But we have to be smart, tactful, like Reggie said, kind of like tricky sometimes on how we can sidestep power struggles when they're not necessary to have. We got to learn how to sidestep those and not engage in a power struggle, but get what I need in the classroom, give you some choices. Because if you all feel that you have no power, think about it. I feel I have no power in my class. And now my teacher is giving me like 3 different options. And I get to choose which option I want. I got some power. See how I just gave him some power? He didn't feel he had power, so I'm going to give you some power. You got 2 choices. Or you got 3 choices. You can give it to me. You can put it away. You can do whatever. And I do it in a dignified way where I'm not calling him out. Because if I call him out, he's a kid. His mouth is a lot quicker and slicker than mine. Except I usually, well, but anyways. So they're usually a lot slicker, right, with their mouth. But also, you're giving him a stage where he has to perform. So you don't call him out. So how to dodge that power struggle. How to sidestep that. That is the key for not causing a huge power struggle in the class, okay? So we'll take about a 3 or 4 minute, like a just short, maybe 5-minute break. Was that really, give them 3 choices where you're happy with them, where the kid's staying in the class and they can still learn, and you'll be good with that. And that's how you sidestep the power struggle. Okay, so the next one is belonging. I want to feel like I belong. I want to feel like I'm a part of an us, like I'm a member of the community. It's unfortunate, this one. You just think about some students don't feel that they belong in school. And they can go somewhere, and some people will make them feel like they belong quick style. I'll be your brother. I will die for you.
There you go.
We'll get it tatted on. We'll get it all tatted up, and nobody will come between us. And if anybody tries to mess with you, we'll straight up kill them. How much more you take some vulnerable kids? They don't feel that they belong at home. When mom or dad gets mad, they cuss them out or leave or say, I wish you were never born or whatever, or maybe they ship them off to grandparents or threaten to ship them off to Mexico. Hear that all the time? I'm going to just send you with your grandma to Mexico, whatever. And so they don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like they're really loved. They come to school and they don't get it either. And then right outside the school, or even inside the school, there's some other people who say, I got your back. So students' needs for belonging aren't met. How might that manifest in the classroom? I'm not going to have you do this with your table partners, but here's what often happens when a student feels that I don't belong. I don't know if the teacher loves me. I don't know if the teacher cares about me. So I am going to engage in what you can categorize as attention-seeking behaviors. I don't know if you really care about me, so I'm going to keep doing things to get your attention. I'm going to keep doing things so that, and they might even be bad things, because a student can't tell the difference between negative attention or positive attention. So I'm going to keep fidgeting with my papers, because I know every time I fidget with my papers, Mr. Nakamura comes by and he pats me on the shoulder and he says, whoever, you know what we're supposed to be doing right now. Can you please stop doing that? And he's looking me in the eye. He's giving me that affirmation. He's telling me he really cares about me. And so what I'm doing as a teacher is I'm unknowingly meeting that student's need for belonging in a very unhealthy way. I'm helping him feel that he belongs every time he messes around. And then you come to my office and you say, Mr. Nakamura, this kid, he keeps like messing around in class. What do I do? I'm like, well, every time he messes around, you give him the attention that he's longing for. So you're actually kind of perpetuating that behavior that you're trying to get rid of. So how can we help our children feel that they belong? What are some things we can do to help them feel that they belong in a healthy, in a positive, productive way? So Reggie says every time a kid walks out, I don't care if it's 8 weeks or, I don't care how long he's been in the program, I'm going to shake his hand. I'm going to look him in the eye and shake his hand and say, I'm glad you were here today. You made it. So every time a kid comes through, when they're lined up, I'm not just standing outside, the door of my classroom. I'm going to shake every single kid's hand. I'm going to look them in the eye, say, it's good to see you in class today. I'm going to let them know from the second, before they even get into the class, that you belong. And there's some other things that we could do too we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, so the third one is competence. This I feel that we've made the most progress in as an institution. How we differentiate instruction and how we have a lot of different ways to meet students' needs for competence when their ability levels are so different in the classroom. So we've made some progress in this. This is an important part right here, though. Knowing facts or skills of consequence. Something that matters to me as the learner. Something that I feel is important.
Says because it's funny after or when answering a question, and I think it's because he just doesn't know, and the rest of the class will laugh.
Distraction.
Yeah, and so he kind of skirts the actual question.
Yeah. Oh, you mean he always says because it's funny?
Yeah. So
he makes that comment?
Yeah. So
oh, yeah.
I'll I'm not the teacher of the class. I just ask a question, and then he'll say because it's funny instead of the actual.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one. Okay, so I don't feel capable, so then I'll just come up with some funny way to address the answer without letting it known that I'm not able to do that. Okay.
And it's just lack of interest also.
Lack of interest. I can't do that. I mean, what you're saying is Greek. Like words are coming out, but I don't know what language that is, so I'm disengaged. And take 2 years of that, and some kids just withdraw within themselves and disengage, and they're not a behavior problem. 2 years of that, and it's over, right? 2 years of not paying attention in math class, not being a behavior problem. What are you going to do then? Now they're in 9th grade math class, they haven't been paying attention 7th and 8th grade, and now they're taking algebra. What's going to happen? So, what else?
Lower grades.
Lower grades, okay. And like sometimes the kids will just respond, they'll say, this is stupid, right? This is stupid. Sometimes they'll say this is too hard, but often they might even say this is too easy. And so they just kind of brush it aside as it's not relevant to me. How can I address that? And I've shared this example before. Let me share with you a couple of things that I did as a 7th grade math teacher. Biggest obstacle, overcoming your perception that you're not capable in math. That's obstacle number 1. Even though I know you still have some serious math deficits. So I took my 30 lowest kids from all 6 periods, found out who my 30 lowest were, my top low, my 30 lowest kids. And I said, I'm going to tutor each of those kids, not really tutor them, but teach them a class for an hour after school, 5 days a week. So Monday afternoon for 1 hour, I'm going to invest some time into my kids, my lowest kids. And you know what I'm going to teach them Monday afternoon? I'm not going to teach them Monday's lesson. That's the worst thing I could ever do for the kid. That is the absolute worst thing I could ever do. You didn't get it in class on Monday. Now you need to come Monday after school and hear it again, and you still don't get it. And then I'm saying, come on, guys, this is easy. And so I'm making him feel like, he's thinking, man, I must really be dumb. I heard it 2 times in a row. The teacher's saying it's easy. It's still confusing. And now you're just solidifying his belief that he can't do math. So I'm not going to remediate him. That's the worst thing I could do. I'm going to teach him Monday after school the lesson that everybody else is going to see Tuesday morning. But it's like a front-loading technique, right? So what does that do? Well, he comes into class Tuesday morning, and the first time in his life, in his whole life, he's the only person that knows the answer. And Mr. Nakamura is introducing slope-intercept form. Nobody knows what it is. Somebody tell me, I'm just curious. Anybody knows slope-intercept form? Anybody just tell me the formula? Nobody knows it, except my lowest kid. And he raises his hand, oh yeah, it's y equals mx plus b. What does that do to his confidence? What does that say to him? I can engage in class. I can answer some questions. I can do this.
Now I'm
do that. Yeah, now I'm interested. Now do that the whole year with the kid. And see you're going to see some radical changes in, how well they can perform. Another thing, you can categorize your group. Well, we don't want to label kids, but let's say you got your kids that they got it first time around. Other kids, they might need to see it twice. Some kids, they need to see it like 5 times. So you know who your high kids are in your class, right? You want to challenge them because sometimes it could be a behavior problem. So I'm introducing something pretty new. So I throw up an equation in slope-intercept form right there, and I say, I need somebody to graph this. I haven't even taught it to the class yet. But you know that you got 1 or 2 kids that can do it, right? So you let them do it. Let them shine. Let them feel confident. Let them feel like, I'm connected. So they show it. Before that person shows it, I'm going to go to my lowest student. Let's say Jeffrey's my lowest student. I'm going to say, Jeffrey, he's about to show this right now. I want you to watch, because I'm going to call you up in a little bit and show everybody else how it's done. So my highest kid goes up there. He does it. No explanation. He does it all correct. I say, don't explain. Just show us. Just do it. He sits down. Okay. Now I'm going to call my middle level kid. Tell me what the high kid just did. Explain the steps that he did, because he has it modeled. He's at the mid-range. He can do that with some support, right? So he's showing me, or he's telling the rest of the class what the highest kid did. Good. Now I call Jeffrey, my lowest student in the class. He saw it done. He heard it modeled. I prepped him before, and I said, Jeffrey, and remember he already saw it yesterday anyways. And I said, Jeffrey, show me one more time what whoever said. So now I'm meeting the needs of all my kids. That's just one example of, one thing that I thought of in a math classroom to help my students. Should I share that one story, Shannon, the one about the boy? Remember the competition? Okay. So share it. I like to tell stories. I used to tell my kids one day, I was like, do you want to hear a story about like coyotes chasing my dog, or me and the police officers at the skate park? And they're like, oh, Mr. Nakamura has some crazy stories. Okay, so here's a story. There was this boy named Sean Miller in my class. He was an African-American boy, but he had like red hair and freckles. He was really short, kind of, always had really dirty clothes, and he didn't have friends in the class, had some learning disabilities. Every year he scored far below basic on his math test. You guys know what far below basic is? It's the worst of the worst that you can do, right? Proficient's grade level. You have basic, below basic, far below. So he's really low coming into my class. He's one of my 30 kids. And I helped him feel connected. I made a relationship with him, helped him feel that he can do it. So every Friday, we would do this competition, boys against girls, in the front of the class. They would line up, first boys here, first girls there, and whoever gets the answer right gets to stay up, and then the girl would have to go out. And so one boy could potentially beat the whole group of girls. Does that make sense? And vice versa with the girls. So then Sean, every time he'd raise his hand, be like, Mr. Nakamura, I want to go first. And I'm like, great. Sean's going to go up, and he's going to get out in like 1 second. So he would go up, Mr. Nakamura, I'm going to go up. And he goes up, he gets out. He goes up, he gets out. Every week. It's like 3/4 through the year, Sean goes up, like he did every week, to be the first person. And he beats his first girl, and he gets kind of excited. He's like, all right, and you can see it. And then he beats his second girl. And then he beats his third girl. And I look over, and tears are starting to roll down his eyes. And I'm just thinking, so he's making me cry a little bit, right? And because for the first time in his life, he's like, I can do this. I got this. I can be successful. I can struggle. I can persevere. I can overcome this. And he's beating a bunch, and he's crying, and I'm just thinking, that changed his life around. And I remember just talking with his parents and stuff, and did he score proficient or advanced that year? No. He almost got basic. He moved up like two bands, and he did a lot better. Is that helping our school's API that much? Nah, but you know what? It changed his life around. And he's going to remember that for the rest of his life. All right. I almost lost the clicker, and it was in my pocket. So how do we build upon and develop students' needs? How do we do it? We talked about some ways that we can do that. If these needs aren't being met at home, how or where are they going to be met? At school, from us. Every day in the classroom, right here, Mr. T style. By being hardcore disciplinarians, right? Hardcore. Hardcore. Not military, but hardcore. Really understanding, remember, we're going to take a radical approach. Really understanding what that word discipline means. and really understanding how to discipline. Or almost how to